It's great to come here today and see the centre because we've been talking about it, and I did get to see some photos of where we were on Monday, and the progress between now and then is fantastic. And I said to Ben when I arrived, actually, this is probably better than our own technology showcase that we have at Microsoft Campus in Reading, so it's a beautiful centre. In terms of why we're so excited about it, we know that small and medium businesses, despite the economic uncertainty, 53% of small businesses tell us that they still expect to grow over the next 12 to 18 months. And at Microsoft, we think technology is an enabler to any company's growth. But also, when you're a small and medium business, you're worried about your business. You're not necessarily worried about technology. You don't necessarily have IT staff, and why should you? So one of the things that we're very excited about at Microsoft is that moving forward, we see the future for us and our software is around what we call the cloud or online services. So the ability to consume software from the ether and no longer have to have servers under desks and IT staff and worry about doing upgrades and am I on the latest version of the software, because it can all be streamed to you. And you're just a consumer, and you no longer have those IT headaches or the cost of replacing servers. So that's what we mean by online services. And Ben can talk a bit more about the technology itself. And what we think is unique in terms of Microsoft's value proposition is that it's actually illustrated beautifully in that graphic on the wall, which is, for us, we want to give our customers the best experience that we can, whether they're using a PC or the browser, or actually the phone, because we're the only vendor that actually has all three platforms. And actually having them seamlessly integrated really allows the whole vision of mobile computing and being able to access data, email, folders, documents, wherever you are, on whatever device is really the future that we see. The other thing that I think is really exciting about what Ben and Perspicuity are doing is that they've coupled not only helping us grow our business in that area, but they've recognised that when you talk to customers about the cloud, it is a different way of thinking, and therefore the best people to perhaps be selling that are younger people. And so they partnered with us on the Microsoft Apprenticeship programme, and actually 5 of Ben's staff are on that programme. So when the economy took a bit of a downturn in 2009, Microsoft said, what can we do to help? And we started up a programme called Britain Works. And that was all about us making sure that people in the UK economy got IT skills. And so far we've touched about 490,000 people with that initiative. But specifically, we wanted to address the serious issue of 1 million plus 16 to 24-year-olds who are neither in education or in work. And that's where we put the apprenticeship programme in place. So together with the government, and we've been able to leverage £15 million of funding that the government's provided, we've set up a training programme, and then we want to place the apprentices directly into our channel partners. So Ben has 5. We've actually have either in place or in progress 1,500 apprentices to date since we started in September 2009. And we've got an ambition to get another 700 apprentices into our partners between now and the end of November. But I think the really key thing, linking that to the cloud and online services, is that young people come with no legacy. So they don't know that IT world of old that we've all grown up with. And so it's okay for them to let go of that. Why wouldn't you consume your software from the cloud? Why wouldn't it appear like every other technology that they use in their lives? So that's a great piece of joint partnership as well.
Thank you, Janet. What I just wanted to touch on is, because you might wonder what on earth this is all about and why we're here. The important thing about this centre is it's here to demonstrate to you what you can do with technology. It's supposed to be an environment outside your normal work environment, outside your offices. Come here and play out what you do at work in this place. And what we can show you is how to use this technology, how to consume this technology to improve your business operation. And that doesn't matter whether that is in business, in education, The charity sector is a big sector that's picked up with cloud. They've identified that something that can really help them cut their costs, which the charity was really keen on. And public services as well. So schools, education in particular. There's 2 new platforms just been released by Microsoft on Monday, thank you, that are completely free to use. So there is really there's no excuse not to get the best. If you move into the kind of the commercial world, the price plans for this type of technology, which is all about collaboration, improving productivity within your businesses, starts at £4 per user per month. Now, again, I don't want to get silly about this, but £4 per user per month. That is not an awful lot of money to spend on improving productivity in your business. There's no capital cost. One of the big things with cloud is there's no capital outlay required. So what Microsoft have done really well is remove those hurdles to gaining access to the best technology. So that's what this place is all about. And that's it. Over to you, Scott.
Thanks very much, Ben. And thanks, Janet, for introducing us to the cloud. We wanted to have a few minutes of Q&A. So, first question is about how do you think IT will help businesses? Alison, would you like to mention that from your perspective in
Yes,
Goodman?
Definitely. I think there's sort of 2 main parts to that. A small business, medium-sized business will have its own financial resources, its own working capital, for example. Making the best use of that working capital is a really good way of finding extra investment and increasing productivity and things. IT can be a real important driver in that. You can access new markets, you can make sure your processes are efficient, and you can really turn your output into cash more quickly, and that's fundamental for small and medium-sized businesses. The other side maybe is where you're looking for outside investment or bank funding. If you can demonstrate you're a well-run business with good controls and processes, with good methods of controlling your finances and forecasting, delivering consistent products to customers, you're going to find it much easier to raise finance. It may be more difficult at the moment, but it definitely is not impossible where you've got the right product mix and right management team.
Thanks, Alison. David, have you...
Yes, but before I answer, I think I have to let you all into a secret, which is that Scott said he'd sort of model this on some kind of question time, any questions. And when you go on those types of things as a politician, there are kind of 3 scenarios. One is they don't tell you any of the questions beforehand, and it's very difficult. 2 is where they tell you some of the questions beforehand, so you can think about it and look impressive, and that's usually helpful. And the third scenario is when they give you the questions beforehand, and it still doesn't help you at all. and you know, I've had a couple of minutes to think about it, and these are still really tough questions for me. And they're tough questions partly because, frankly, you are probably better qualified to answer them than I am, because they're all about businesses applying IT. And if there's one thing that I'm not the world's expert in, it is the application of IT. But I just want to make two comments, nevertheless, on the question, because no politician ever offers a chance to speak. Yeah, gives a short answer. So there are 2 things I wanted to pick up. I mean, the first is that obviously the question refers to IT in an environment where finance is constrained, and I think one of the jobs that we still have to do as a government is to try to address the financial constraints, which are getting no easier because of the crisis in the Eurozone, but which we're beginning to do more radical things to intervene in. But the second question is just about the importance of IT in this kind of environment, and it seems to me obvious that there are 2 things. I mean, the first is that we don't want to be stuck in our part of the country in businesses that are not involved in IT, because that is where a hell of a lot of the growth is. But the second thing is that in an environment where a lot of businesses are finding it difficult to access cash, the application of IT quite clearly often allows businesses to do things in a more cost-effective way, and therefore to limit the costs of expansion and marketing. And that's why I think it is particularly important.
Thanks, David. I wanted to ask Charlie the same question, but I wanted to kind of slant that in a slightly different way, because no business can grow and develop without having the kind of human talent that will propel it forward. And Charlie, you're a great example of talent that we need to move these businesses forward. But you're only going to come to companies that, let me use the word, it may not be politically correct, you're only going to come in businesses that are sexy and work on sexy technology. So just why Perspicuity? And don't worry about him being done yet.
Why Perspicuity? I saw a lot more prospects with Perspicuity. The training that they provided, one with Microsoft, and me going away on boot camp, and pretty much in the job description it said about the fact that you'll be travelling around to different clients, and yeah, that really interested me.
So the expense account was the thing.
Yeah, so like travelling up to London for training days, which I've done numerous occasions, and going away on boot camp, and it's been really, really good.
So access to the training programs and so on. Thanks very much. Janet, is there anything you'd like to kind of comment on?
Yeah, a couple of things, I guess. So in my whole working life, I've been in IT. And to your point about, you only notice it when it goes wrong. And we talked a long time in the IT industry about IT being a utility.
Yep.
It's like electricity. It's there. And actually, let's be honest, it's not always been like that. But actually, I think that's where the cloud does give the whole industry the opportunity to move to that utility view of how we consume technology. But also, talking to Richard earlier, Richard was saying that, his business is about supporting customers that have gone to the cloud. So, that's how he's recognised he's going to transform his IT business and how he's going to make money going forward. But the really interesting thing was that when you're supporting customers that are in the cloud, you don't have to be near those customers. So his customers could be anywhere in the world, and in fact some of them are. And he can run a 24/7 operation to support them. So actually what cloud computing also allows you to do is to remove the physical, geographical, barriers. So you can then have in the West Country, businesses supporting global businesses. And that's really exciting.
Right. Ben, from your experience in working with the SME community, what do you see as the
main thing really is we keep talking about it's very difficult to get funding from banks to help us to grow. But what you can do with what we're moving here with cloud is that there's no investment required. So I think we've had some interesting discussions with people that say, well, why don't you go to the banks and when they've turned out a loan, tell them to come to us, because actually, what we're doing is we're giving them IT capability, but you pay for what you need, and you pay for when you need it, and there's no need for capital. So I think that's the biggest kind of change with all this.
Well, thanks for that. The second question, we've got super fast broadband heading this way. But when it comes, will we know? Will businesses be prepared for it? And are we in this region positioned to keep up with the changes that that kind of capability will bring? Ben?
I think the trick with this is to get customers of that fast broadband access to good applications and to good technology to use with it. Otherwise, it's a fast train with no stations. It looks impressive, but actually, in reality, we need to get out to that community and out to that marketplace and explain what we can do with the kind of stuff we've got here, and that's kind of what this is all about. What we're doing. That's my view on it.
Janet.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft's highly dependent on that infrastructure to deliver our software through. I mean, our experience so far is that in the main conurbations, the population, the broadband is good enough.
Yeah.
Obviously, anything that we can do to improve it will help. So it's not a major inhibitor, but it's really important that people get the best experience. So yeah, we are dependent on that.
Great.
I mean, it's important for us to really follow up the delivery in those hard to access places, because the government has allocated quite a lot of funding for this. The last time I spoke to the County Council, obviously a key partner in it, there's still some delivery and finance issues in getting to those more hard to reach areas. And while it's great that the major centres are really connected up, we've got to push this through to make sure that it goes in right across the county. We've got, fortunately, many small businesses, not only in the big centres like Yeovil and Chard, but small villages, sometimes in areas that are not on the map at all, and we've got to make sure that those places have got access to it.
Alison.
Yeah, I think there's a variety of businesses across the whole spectrum. Some are really ready and able to take as much advantage as they can of the superfast broadband, and others will be slightly more wary and more reluctant and maybe not appreciate what it could offer to them. And this hub here should prove a fantastic facility for some of those businesses to really try it and see what it can do and learn and develop. And
so one of the challenges for
of
us is to make people aware of what we've got here.
Absolutely.
And to use this as a vehicle for communicating just what can be done with that technology.
That's right. Yeah.
Thanks. And any questions that the audience? Ed.
So, first of all, Ed Nicholson, Intelligent Enterprise Products. You'll hear a bit more from us later on. What is it we need to do in order to continue to expand and create this world-class facility?
I think in terms of human talent, you have, I mean, we are, I won't choose my words particularly well here, but I mean, we are kind of saddled with the education system as we have it, which is in the main determined by the way government funds, primary, secondary, tertiary kind of education. And being involved with a college, I'm just well aware of some of the challenges that brings. Now, having said that, I'm well aware that within the schools there are some very talented kids coming through. You've got a fantastic example on my left and your right of just what that means. But what it means is that businesses really need to step up to sort of recognizing the kind of what I've called, Charlie, the raw talent, as you maybe were 18 months, 2 years ago, and kind of working with the individuals to kind of create, as I said before, sort of world-class talent. I've seen it in my kind of previous business, can be done. It means you've got to set up some sort of partnership with education providers such as Yeovil College. But when you kind of put all those ingredients together, you can create individuals, and we do not have a shortage of them in our region. Sorry.
I teach computing at Yeovil College, and we just had our induction this morning. We've just taken 50 kids on to do computing there this morning. They've started orientation this morning. It's up to businesses to talk to us. Tell us what you want us to teach them. If you want C# in this area, we'll teach C#. If you want JavaScript, we'll teach JavaScript.
Paul, you might want to mention one of the initiatives that the college is just kicking off, as I understand it, next year, which is this employer engagement program.
Yeah, we're looking for employers to take on our diploma students. These are our AAA level students. Take them into your workplace for 4 or 5 weeks an academic year. Show them what it's like to work in business. We'll teach them the skills that you require at college. You show them what it's like to be at work, and then we can talk about apprenticeships towards the end of their year at college. There's lots of scope for this. This is what kids are looking for.
I mean, places like college are stepping up to that. David?
Yeah, I mean, it's an important question. I think there are 3 brief things I want to say. I mean, firstly, and this is not just a Yeovil phenomenon, but it's right across the country, we've still got a lot more to do to raise educational standards. We still have far too many young people who reach 16 and 18 with qualifications which are low by international standards. And there's been big improvements, I think, in the education system nationwide and in our area over the last decade, but there's a lot further to go, and some of the best, some of the exemplars across the country of what you can achieve, even with sometimes a challenging catchment of pupils and students, far more challenging than we have here, shows that there is a long way further to go. The second thing, which has been touched on already, is the links with business, and this is a two-way thing for sure. I mean, there is a requirement for businesses to engage properly with the educational establishments, but I hear, the need for educational establishments as well to go out and engage with businesses. And sometimes I talk to both, and they're both sort of waiting for each other. And Charlie's example, although he's also going to obviously be going into higher education as well, shows that there are lots of very good routes which may lead straight out of school and college into employers, and that don't necessarily require everybody to assume that they've got to go through the existing higher education structures. And quite often, including, you know, in some of our other firms that you've been associated with, Scott, some of the best performing youngsters find a route which is right for them, which may be straight out of school into the employer, rather than going through a higher education process that's great for some people but not for everybody. And the last thing with Yeovil College is, you know, that we're a bit disadvantaged in our area by the lack of access to higher education in terms of distances to travel. But we have got the college and the university centre doing more, and we want to continue to grow and expand that, particularly in the areas where we've got economic expertise in the area. We probably won't be able to have every single subject, you know, covered to the top level at Yeovil, given all the other things we're trying to do, but we might very well have high quality education and training that delivers for local employers. And one of the things that I've discussed with the college in the past, and that we're continuing to engage with the government on, is how can we make sure institutions like Yeovil College are more in charge of their own destiny in higher education, are more able to award degrees in their own right, are more able to, with partner organisations. Because recently, with the pressures on the higher education sector, as you know, some of the degree awarding institutions that we've got partnerships with have tried to pull those degrees and those courses back to their own institutions, away from Yeovil, because they want to protect their own funding. And that's not good, and we need to make sure that young people who want to access education, particularly vocationally related education in Yeovil, are able to do so. And I hope in the future, therefore, the government will give more powers to colleges to determine their own numbers on higher education courses where there is demand, with a process of partnership with other organisations in order to get the credibility and the degree awarding status, but where we don't have to go out to them and plead for a certain number of places and funding, but where we have it of right if we've actually got students who want to come to Yeovil College to take those courses.
Thanks, David. Just to ask you maybe to recognise the hard work that Ben, Microsoft have done in putting this together, and also Alison, David, Janet, for coming along and spending time with us today. It's been a fascinating morning, afternoon, and thanks very much. So well done.